This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm the fellow who has a hyphen in my name. The hyphen is silent, but I am anything but that. Respectonomics brings you living economics. And living economics is a bi-weekly discussion of what's going on in the world of economics. My name is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I am your voice of Respectonomics. In this case, it's economics, which is my career background, which is now being reset, repurposed through the filters of Respectonomics. Respectonomics is focused or deals with, engages in the concept of the dignity of the human being. This is an economic overview. This is May 2026. I don't usually mention dates, times, and places, but I do now because we're talking about current economic conditions. We are aware of the inflationary biases that are going on in the world today. We hear a lot about affordability, and we had a presentation that we made earlier. This one builds on that one. And I want to make the one subject today, which is, can we afford deflation? We're in a world where we talk about affordability, and governments have precluded that expression affordability from their own mandates and their own principles. You never hear a government today saying, can we afford it? And the answer is that we can't. We cannot afford to go on printing the money. We can't go on producing one set of new products after another. And the answer is that when we understand that we are in a time of unaffordable inflation, we need to look at, as indeed in all economic activity, what is what is the opposite of this? What is the counterpoint to this? Because economics precludes itself, bases itself on two principles. Excuse me. Two principles. One is that we have a shortage and then we have a surplus. And one of the great principles of economics is that a shortage will follow a surplus and a surplus will follow a shortage. So we know that the shortages of today will become the surpluses of tomorrow. We know that this inflationary bias that we're experiencing is because there are interruptions in what's called the supply chain. And if there are interruptions in the supply chain, it is arguable and it is historically accurate to say that in fact those shortages will be refilled. And we will refill them in two ways, either by reopening the sluices so that those supplies do come back to us in a normal manner, or we will do substitution. We're very big on that. If we find that one commodity is too expensive, we will replace it with another. But what I really want to emphasize now is this. We are seeing this affordability issue at the home table, at the kitchen table. We're seeing it. And as a result of that, people are starting to say, I will go without something. It might be a trip to the cinema. It might be a flight to some resort. It might be a something that one can put off, like a dishwasher. Perhaps one can say, well, I'll get a new one later. But we can get our heads into where affordability results in a delayed purchase. That when we find we can't afford it, we say we are going to delay that purchase. Now, here's the critical point. When we delay the purchase, we in fact start changing our demand structure. That's why economics is a very important fluidity. It moves one against the other. Supply moves, demand changes, prices change. It's a constant flux. And when you have this flux, and when you find out that we are in fact absorbing and demanding less, primarily in the first stages because we couldn't afford it, we then find out something very valuable. And we find out that when we go without, we actually improve our within. That sounds a bit contradictory, but things that we go without can often result in us recognizing the values of what is within us or what is within our immediate orbit. In other words, we become more satisfied with less. And as we become more satisfied with less, that takes on a life of its own, not only because of the affordability issue, which is predicated on financial considerations, but it's also, in this case, predicated on a changing sentiment. Most people would recognize that if you've got a 10,000 square foot home, regardless of the responsibilities and the costs and all the things that go into it, I will make one proclamation. A cup of coffee in a 10,000 square foot home tastes no different or no worse than the same coffee in a 200 square foot apartment. The truth of the matter is that we are putting values onto shapes and sizes that in fact are not bringing us any genuine pleasure. So the affordability issue is likely to trigger this change in sentiment. It's almost an organic kind of comment. And as we find ourselves reducing our demand, we end up with what's called demand destruction. And demand destruction means not only does the demand go down, that's easy enough, it also means that the demand does not come back. It has been destroyed. And we may well be coming into a world where the combination of the excesses, the credit card debts, the installment payments, the overcapacity of everything we do, the sense that we've got too much. Everybody today says, I am too busy. I have got too many things on the go. We are looking to deflate. We are looking to see a reduction in activity. We actually are looking at that in our hearts and spirits, our very being. We want less. And as we want less anxiety, by the way, as we want less of these things, we will change the contours of our demands. We will reduce our demands. As we reduce our demands, and as supplies continue to be increased, whether it's in automobiles or electricity or artificial intelligence, whatever it might be, these are the things that will actually drive down prices. If you look at, for example, one example, the price of storage in a computer. It used to be extraordinarily expensive to say, I've got extra RAM or I've got extra capacity. Capacity now has become a dime a dozen. You can buy a stick or whatever they call it, a memory stick. You can buy it at your local convenience store. The fact is that memory chips, memory costs have completely plunged. And we will see the same thing happens in automobiles. How come the Chinese, for example, today are able to produce 5 cars at a price that together match the price of an average North American vehicle? We're going to see reductions in prices of cars. Artificial intelligence is going to bring down the price of labor because we will find that things that were done manually, humanly, will be done automatically by artificial intelligence. Love it or leave it, but the banks, for example, are moving in that area. I had a situation personally where I had a visa claim. I claimed on the visa, went through their insurance facility, and it turned out that that entire process was never touched by human hand, except mine. The point of the matter is, we are in a world of what's called affordability or a world of inflation, a world of deficits. And economics is always one of turnarounds. And we will see, in fact, a time of turnaround. We will see where governments will, in fact, look up and say, we can't afford it. We're going to look at a time when the bond market says, we can't afford to buy your bonds any longer. That has already been heralded by some of the senior bankers in North America. We have a situation where the price of commodities will start falling. We saw that in chocolate. Chocolate went through the roof. Chocolate is now down. Coffee is up. Coffee will come down. We're seeing the actual structure, the profile of demand changing. And as these things come about, and as we find that our inner levels of satisfaction become improved with less, we will also find that that gives us more time for family life, more time for reflective opportunities, just to be able to sit and reflect, where we can move away from the sense of being busy all the time, where we can have a sense of relaxation, where we do not feel compelled to be doing something. And as we come into this world of this new experience, for many of us, one that we haven't ever seen before, as we come into this disinflationary, deflationary profile, this action will start to become more and more entrenched. And as it becomes more entrenched, and as you see the prices falling in real estate, in assets, in stocks, in commodities, as these prices fall, we each of us will need to know that we may have dependency on those assets that will not be as valuable as we thought they were going to be. But it does say one thing, though, doesn't it? That if those asset prices are going down, the actual value of cash will become more valuable because it will be able to buy more with less, which is really ultimately the entire economic theorem that we want to be able to buy more with less. And it is going to be fed right into our hands. The world of inflation will give rise to, or give a, not rise, will give birth to a genesis to disinflation, deflation of prices collapsing. My name's Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I would welcome your comments and your inputs on this. I realize this is a different perspective. I would like your organic response. And if you would let me know, please, Jeremy at respectonomics.com, and I'll be sure to reflect your opinions and your ideas in future projections, in future discussions. In the meantime, I rest my case.